The Dallas Cowboys get the win 26-24 over the Bucs. Bucs fall to 8-7, officially second place in the NFC South now. So they need to win out. They need the Falcons to at least lose a game here over these next couple of weeks. Cowboys move to 7-8. Pretty fun game. Our old boss Chris was chuckling for the entire second half. When he chuckles, some good stuff is happening.
A lot of chuckles.
Just laughing at the hard hits and some of the spectacular plays in this game. And there were fun back and forth battle on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, it really was. It was a great game. Really fun game to watch. Like you said, it did feel a bit like a playoff performance where the hitting intensity just ratchets up, and these teams were both really, really fighting hard. Now, for Tampa Bay, that made total sense, right? They're battling to keep control of the division. Dallas, it makes no sense because they're done. They were like 49ers. They were eliminated going into this game. They had nothing to play for, and yet they went out there playing like their lives depended on it. Chris and the broadcast were making a big deal out of this is a team that seems to want to play to keep Mike McCarthy his job, to keep him in the gig, and they were definitely playing like that. I have a question for you, though. Are you ready yet to apologize to Skip Bayless for mocking his take that Cooper Rush was better than Dak Prescott?
No.
Why not?
Because Cooper Rush is not better than Dak Prescott. I will apologize for mocking Skip for not even acknowledging the idea that it could be true. I will still continue to say there's no way that Cooper Rush is better than Dak Prescott.
Okay.
But I will acknowledge that Cooper Rush has played some good ball these last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know where the PFF grade ends up or just my own brain grade ends up. He had what could have been the most disastrous interception in the NFL last night. So let's not forget that. But I've been impressed with Cooper Rush, more impressed with CeeDee Lamb. But
sure.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Cooper Rush the last couple weeks. So no apology to Skip.
No apology. I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize to not Skip Bayless. It's a pretty good point, right? Cooper Rush was playing really good football, but then with the game on the line late with like 6 minutes left, trying to protect the lead, he just throws it right to a linebacker, like straight to him, and the dude stone hand drops it. Massive play. Three insane plays in this game. There's that one Tampa Bay doesn't come up with, and then there's two plays where the Dallas defense straight up just takes the ball away from Tampa Bay receivers. The one was who made the play deep down the field into the end zone, the McMillan play. Was that Bland as well?
That took the final play?
No. The deep shot to McMillan.
Jordan Lewis.
Jordan Lewis, that was
interception?
It. So Jordan Lewis just straight up takes the ball away from Jalen McMillan on a bomb into the end zone. That was huge play. Like that would have given Tampa Bay a touchdown. Instead, turnover. And then the very final play is Duron Bland. Baker makes a miracle play to get out of pressure, gets it off to Rachaad White, who actually starts fighting through, gaining some yardage on the play. And then again, as they're going to ground, Bland just rips the ball away. Like those are genuinely two of the best defensive plays that have been made by anybody this season. And Dallas needed both of them to survive this game.
Yeah, let's highlight the end of that game because the Bucs get within 2. It's 26-24. The Cowboys could seal the deal with a first down. Basically, they run a little quick pass out of nowhere. Vita Vea. Not out of nowhere. He's dropping into coverage, and again, Chris and Mike, they do a great job. Just I think every week breaking down what's happening in the game, and they were highlighting Todd Bowles' schemes and how often they're just zooming a defensive tackle across the field into coverage, and sometimes they get exploited. Other times they're just, it's like, how's Vita Vea there making a tackle? Just pops the ball carrier to stop him short of the sticks, and it's like, that's the play. That is the play that's going to spark the Bucs and keep their NFC South playoff hopes alive. Vita Vea, open field tackle on 3rd and 6. So then the Cowboys punt, first play from scrimmage. And I want to talk about Baker in a minute here. He is just scrambling around. He's in the grasp. I'm waiting for the whistle. You're waiting for the whistle, but he's still kind of moving forward. Shovels it off to Rachaad White. It's like, oh, Baker did it again. That's the play. Like a middle play. I'm thinking, like, oh, it's all going through my head. That's the play that's going to keep the Bucs NFC South playoff hopes alive.
Yeah.
Rachaad White, they turned a sack into a positive play, and Rachaad White's going to the ground. And as they come up from the ground, Duron Bland has the football, stripped it, and kept it on the tackle to seal the game for the Cowboys. Just unreal turn of events, the way that game finished.
Baker couldn't believe it. Like he made this miracle offload in the tackle to get away from a sack and gets it to White, who then starts picking up yards through contact, like dragging people for yardage. And then, as you said, the play ended. It went down, and suddenly Dallas is coming up with the football. And Baker's like, what the hell just happened? Like, what? We just made a play. How have they got the football? And It was literally as they're falling to the ground, Bland just strips the ball away from him as he's fighting for that extra yardage. Incredible play. The Vita Vea thing was kind of funny because they dropped him into coverage, but they also dropped him from the other side of the line. Yeah. So he's dropping in the direction of the quick pass. There are some times when you're playing football, and certainly, I think this is the case for less gifted players. Maybe for people like Barry Sanders, they're able to plot these things out in advance. But for humans, you tend to just react to the thing immediately in front of you, right? So like, oh, look, player over here, I'll cut inside of this guy. And there are some times where the first move you make takes you, unfortunately, into a different set of circumstances that do not progress to your advantage. So whoever it was it Ferguson? Whoever the tight end
Ferguson.
Makes a cut past the first guy. Unfortunately, that cut took him directly into the path of 350 pounds worth of Vita Vea with a head start. And he just got, like, smushed. Just Vita Vea like a semi-truck hitting a deer on the highway, just plows straight over the tight end, crushes him into the turf. You're like, yeah, I bet he wished he didn't make that cut this time. If he just taken on the guy to the outside instead, he'd have had a much better outcome.
I love that about football, though. There's so many of those key plays, and I hate when the key plays get diminished just because the team lost. Like, again, if the Bucs pull off the upset, we're all going back and like, this was the play, Vita Vea dropping into coverage to keep things alive. Like, let's at least celebrate it the same way. And you mentioned, earlier today and last night when we were talking about the game, the Jordan Lewis interception is one of the best plays you've ever seen. And I do think the broadcast did a nice job highlighting that too. He took a, hand to the face mask during the play, then looks up, finds the ball, grabs it with one arm. Just an incredible interception from Jordan Lewis earlier in the game. The Baker Mayfield experience in this one, I've said this for years though, the middle tier type of quarterback is that, during a 60-minute game, that's the type of guy, like if you're a believer, you'll have some fodder. If you're a doubter, you'll have some fodder. And if you're following social media and this and that, it's like, oh, Baker Mayfield's underrated and he's great at this, this, and this. And then someone else will say, oh, this guy's overrated and you can't win with him and he makes too many mistakes. And like both things are true.
Yeah.
This just felt like the pinnacle of Baker, right? He's like a crash test dummy in the pocket. He's tripping over his own offensive lineman for sacks. He's breaking free to make other plays. He's making laser beam tight window throws, making bad decisions, making good decisions. It's all rolled in to one game. I just get the same feeling with Geno Smith in so many games as well. Similar type of quarterback, right? Where it's like they've elevated their team, but have they hit a ceiling is like a fair question every week, because every time you're like, yes, 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 there's also a bunch of no's during the same experience.
Yeah, but I think it's sort of like the Jameis coaster, right? Like Jameis Winston, we were sort of earlier in his career before he became just the backup crazy Jameis Winston. When he was starting crazy Jameis Winston, it was like, it's a wild roller coaster, right? And some weeks you're going to get those 500-yard, 4-touchdown games, and the next week he's going to throw 3 interceptions, like throw for, $180, and you're like, this guy's not functional. And overall, over the course of a season, no matter what he did, it shook out to like a bang average performance, eventually. And then teams finally just got sick of that. We're like, but that's not good enough anymore. We're moving on. Baker and Geno and guys like that, they've shown, I think, that they're capable of spectacular games. Like, there is no ceiling to what they do when they're on, right? And that, I think, is incredibly enticing, because you can convince yourself that in any given game, Baker can go toe-to-toe with the best quarterbacks in the NFL and we can come out on top. It's just that it's probably not going to happen 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and you're eventually going to get bad Baker. Even within the same game, he's going to go on the bad streak, and that's the problem. But it's like the ceiling of what he can do in a game is basically limitless. Like, he's capable of going at the same level as anybody. And And that, I think, is why those guys are still intriguing and enticing and deserved of starting spots while even if there's a glut of quarterbacks that could potentially start. I just wanted to give credit to the Dallas defense. Like, with Micah Parsons coming back, it's too little too late. But the Dallas defense in the last few weeks has really just showed up again the way they were. Now, look, they've gotten healthy again. Parsons coming back, Duron Bland coming back, some other really important players. But, like, Jordan Lewis was spectacular in this game, even outside of that one incredible interception. Duron Bland makes the key play to ice it. Micah Parsons was a formidable problem. Like, the pass rush, Odigizua made a few plays, like quick wins again. That defense for Dallas has started to look like the unit that it was supposed to be this season.
And then I want to shout out CeeDee Lamb. Again, broadcast, nice job highlighting his shoulder injury, what he was playing through. Has a 52-yarder, falls on the shoulder, had to limit some of his reps. I know you were begging for at least a carry so he could get the more than a half rushing yard. Didn't get there for prize picks, but Lamb just balled out in the first half. They were feeding him early and often again, which I think they've done well this year. A lot of games this year where they've gotten their best player involved and he's come through. Other dudes had to step up in the second half as he took fewer reps, but finishes with 105 yards on 7 catches.
Yeah. Incredible sort of strength and determination and fortitude for, remember, a dead season. I mean, they're not playing for anything at this point. Like, once he hurt his shoulder again, this is something that he's had for a lot of this season. I think it would have been perfectly justifiable to be like, I'm out, I'm done, wrap it up for the game, if not longer, and come back healthy. But he's out there battling through a bad shoulder, which is serious enough that they're saying, he thinks about how he's going to fall or end a play when he has the ball in his hands. Like, he's calculating that during a play, how he has to end this play so that he doesn't land on his bad shoulder. Incredible performance by him. Unfortunate that did mean that they weren't going to give him an end around, which cost me my prize picks lineup on my one rushing yard. But, yeah, incredible performance by him, who remains one of the best receivers in the game.
As they were talking through this, I'm like, well, Sam, you're not getting your carry. Sorry. It's just not happening.
All those plays went to Turpin instead.
Yes, they did. Turpin, Vita Vea had a tackle on him too at one point, which was beautiful.
What I really do like about football sometimes, rugby's the same, but like two people that are like Vita Vea and Cavante Turpin play the same sport, right?
Yeah. And
sometimes, not very often, but sometimes those players meet in a way that there's a direct collision. And again, like this will happen to you sometime. Like, Turpin's getting the ball, he's running into space, and he just gets enveloped by Vita Vea. And you're like, there is nothing you can do at that point from Turpin's perspective. You are a passenger because you've run into a guy that outweighs you by 200 pounds, right? Like, sometimes when you're less relevant for you, but for smaller people, you think, not only if you could, those sort of ridiculous, like, everyman arguments that surface every now and again. If you were given a pass rushing rep against an offensive tackle, what would it look like, right? Not only could you not move him, right? If you took a running leap and leapt at him, he wouldn't move, right? I could not, like, it's not a case of anchoring against my bull rush. If I took a 10-yard run up and leapt right at the head of an offensive tackle, I don't think he would move backwards. That's what happened to Turpin with Vita Vea. He ran right into him, and he was the one moving backwards.
Beautiful play. Beautiful football. This was a fun game, as we said. The one thing I wanted to touch on quickly, so just to remind people, Falcons, they're all tied at 8-7 right now, Falcons and Bucs. Falcons have the tiebreaker, so if they win out, they win the NFC South. Bucs have a slightly easier schedule, though. They have the Panthers and the Saints. Falcons have the Commanders and the Panthers. So they both have the Panthers. Falcons are on the road for both games, though I think Tampa might be at home for both. So the Bucs, I think, technically might even have better odds to end up winning because of the Commanders being a better team in particular.
And the Commanders still obviously have something to play for. They haven't technically wrapped up that playoff spot. And are they still in – is seeding still relevant for them? Yeah.
Probably a couple of spots.
It is, yeah. They can jump. They can certainly jump Green Bay.
Do you think – and then I want to know, what do you make of the Mike McCarthy playing for him? Because, Chris and Mike obviously have insight. That's what they're hearing. Players want to play for McCarthy, but it's like, I don't know. I think some of that's overrated. Like, it's kind of your job to play football.
Right.
And go out there and you're always on film, for your job. You're not going to like stop playing hard just because you're out of the playoffs. You got to no, a guy like CeeDee Lamb, like maybe he should shut it down if he's dealing with a serious shoulder injury. That's fine. But like if you're playing football, like, go play football. Like that's their job. You have 2 more games, go play it. And I think we overrate, they're not quitting for Mike McCarthy. Give him another shot. Like they're 7-8. This is still a massive underachieving season, though of course they lose their starting quarterback too as a factor.
So you're right that it's overrated in terms of predictive power or, what impact it can have on next season, say, right? Which is pretty important. I think it is important, though, as a general concept. Like the fact that your team, having just learned that they are eliminated from this playoffs in a disappointing season and effectively the year's done, the fact that they have one of their best performances and one of their hardest playing performances, I think is an endorsement of Mike McCarthy. Now, we can weigh how important that is in the decision to rehire him, but I think it is an important thing. And the fact that it's a plus for him, like a tick in his check mark, players played hard with nothing on the line for Mike McCarthy versus another coach where that wouldn't be true, I think is an important thing, right? Mike McCarthy being able to engender that desire and want from his players, I think is a relevant thing when we're debating should he be rehired. I also think, independent of whether or not I would do it, and I don't think that I would, I mean, if they hadn't improved from 12 wins this year, which is kind of the state of play heading into the season, he would have been under the hot seat anyway. Like if it had just been a routine 10-win season where they were in the playoffs, again fall short, say in the wild card round, he'd be under intense scrutiny at that point. So the fact that it's been a disaster and hasn't even hit that stage, I don't see how he isn't on the hot seat. But independent of that, I think what they mentioned on the broadcast, and didn't quite say it in these words, but suggested as much, Jerry Jones is looking for a reason to keep Mike McCarthy. Like, that's his disposition heading into this decision. He's like, just give me the excuse to be able to keep my guy, right? Year after year after year, this was the dynamic with Jason Garrett as head coach, right? People were calling for that guy's job years before they finally gave in and said, okay, fine, we'll do it now. He's just looking for any excuse to keep the guy that he likes in the job, right? He likes Mike McCarthy. He does believe, I think, that this is the team that can win it. He wants to be given any sign to say, no, I can keep him in. Like, this was a bad year. It was injuries. But look, late in the year, once we got everybody healthy, we were winning games. They were playing hard. I'm going to run it back. I'm going to run it back with my guys, and next year's the year. I think that's how Jerry Jones is approaching this. Like, he is looking for reasons to re-up Mike McCarthy.
And I don't know. I'm torn on it too, Sam. I'm just trying to look up his record really quick. Is it just the Cowboys factor here? Is it just the Jerry Jones factor? He's 82. He's 42-33 with Dallas. But the 2 losing seasons are the 2 years Dak got hurt, right? So 3 12-win seasons in the middle when you have healthy Dak Prescott. Our issue was you never show up in the playoffs, right? So you're always going to be awful in the playoffs. Does that mean we need to have a change?
Right.
Or is it still just like a flip of the coin? Like, I don't know, we'll figure it out someday in the playoffs. We don't want to lose this baseline because it's still a baseline 10-plus win team that had a bad year and lost their quarterback in the middle. Because if Dak stayed, could they be 9-6 right now? Flip a couple games, flip a Cincinnati game, flip another game that Cooper Rush started in Dak's favor, and all of a sudden they're pushing 10 or 11 wins once again. If that's what they are, any other team, it's like that'd be wild to get rid of a coach that has 12, and then maybe 10 wins.
I mean, it would, but it wouldn't be unprecedented, right? Like, remember, Marty Schottenheimer got canned at the end of a really successful season. What I think is a real black mark against Dallas is not that they lose in the playoffs. It's now the manner that they're losing. Like, they lose in a way where it's like they choke. I think generally when people say things like choking, it's overblown. It's very single play oriented. But Dallas are showing up now to these games like they don't even think they have a shot of winning. They just show up and it's like, we're not the same team. So that's what would have me thinking about whether we need to make a change. Somebody needs to come in that can stop that from happening, right? Like, does a different version of Dan Campbell prevent that kind of institutional seizing up once they hit those important playoff games, because that's the one area. Like, we give Mike McCarthy plus points for his team still fighting hard in, week 16 with nothing on the line, but we probably have to take away some points by the fact that his team looks like it doesn't even show up once it reaches an important playoff game in January.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's a discussion, because it's almost like the fact that they had some of the adversity almost gives him more reason to come back. Whereas, like, to your point, if they went 10 wins, first round exit, did it again, it would almost feel easier to, like, all right, we got to change it up. So we did it, man.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.